Body shot. Ooh, that hurt, didn't it?
When the adrenaline starts pumping and you know what you can do with this right hand, it's hard to not do that.
Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. It was a fun-filled MMA weekend. We had Bellator back-to-back events in Hawaii. We had UFC Vegas 52, the entire gambit. History was made as well. Jessica Andrade becomes the first fighter, not just female fighter, but first fighter in UFC history to notch a standing arm triangle submission. Claudio Puelles, he becomes the first UFC fighter to notch 3 kneebar victories in his UFC tenure. Lots to talk about, folks. But my name is Derick G. I'll be your host for the next 90 minutes or so. And let me bring in, as always, my co-host, the New Mexico native, the Santa Fe bomber himself. AJ, brother, what's happening, my man? Listen, I just want to start off the bat, man. I won the week. I'm coming back, but it was close, brother. We had a decimated card. We went from 6 fights to 4 fights. It was weird. Nonetheless, I went 3-1 on the week. You went 2-2, so not bad, brother. You still up on the leaderboard. How are you doing?
Still up on the leaderboard, Derick, and man, yeah, it lost the week as it was going down. I was watching the stats pop up, feeling a little certain way, but you know what, man, it was a good night of fights either way. A lot of finishes, an interesting card overall, but I'm sure we're gonna get into it, brother. How you feeling?
Feeling good, brother. I mean, in terms of the picks, we did with what we could. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot of fun-filled fights in terms of MMA, but I was actually letting you know when the mics were cold. I just felt like we're going to talk about it, folks. I do appreciate all this stuff, but even as a hardcore MMA fan myself, the MMA this weekend kind of let me down. Felt like the star of the show was Tyson Fury's knockout over Dillian Whyte. That was the big star of the show, that uppercut from hell right there. However, I mean, listen, you have to appreciate the fights for what it is. These people are going out there putting it on the line every single weekend. You got to appreciate it, right? That's neither here nor there. Let's take a look at the TLDR, folks. For those who don't know, this is the little bit of the segment in the beginning of the show we're going to start doing more regularly. Just let you know what we got right, what we got wrong. On the preview show, it'll give you our picks, and then we'll go out and explain it. So if you're just here for the picks, there you go. So it looks like for my 3-1, my sole miss was one that we both missed together, man. Lando Vannata. And it was a fight that he was winning until he wasn't, but that's neither here nor there. The other big one for you, brother, Clay Guida. So Clay Guida, he loses via knee bar to Claudio Puelles. Otherwise, the favorites basically got the job done. It was only 4 fights on the main card, so this was a real wacky one. I think this is the first time, actually, AJ, that we've had to break down a fight that was 4 fights. So looks like it might be a short one this week, folks. Either way, we'll get that one out the way, my man, and then I want to talk a little bit further about statistics about the night, my man. Dwight Grant versus Sergey Hondosko at 170 pounds was the fight of the night. I can't say that this was expected, but I do think that I was saying in the preview show that both these dudes could crack, and both of these dudes are going to be back and forth, like it was going to be a battle. In terms of the bit that you watched, my man, I mean, what are you taking of the performance from Hondosko? This is a dude who is out of sight, out of mind, hasn't fought in nearly, I can't tell you how many days. I think over 800 days.
Yep.
Yeah. So what do you think? What do you think of the performance?
Man, it was good. Full clarity. I was actually only able to watch up to a little bit for that first round, and I just watched Sergey crack Dwight Grant with that big left hand as he dropped him, man. So he was looking good, man. He was looking crisp. Everything was flowing. You could tell the 2-year layoff was kind of getting going. He was starting off, kind of getting that range going, and they were even saying on the commentary, it usually takes till about round 2 for Hondosko to find his range. Finds it about middle of round 1 and starts looking like a world beater. Absolutely. Especially up against the body snatcher Grant, man. That's a hard thing to do, especially early rounds. Very impressive. How'd you like the fight, Eric?
Well, I thought it was fun, especially because Hondosko, this is one of those dudes where you haven't fought in over 800 days. How are we to be sure that you are that same fighter? How are we going to know that you're not a different fighter? I felt for Dwight Grant, though, man, because he dropped Hondosko, but I guess he just didn't do enough to have the referee call the fight, right? So it's like he gets so close in these fights. You still got your 50K. You got fight of the night, so there's something there, but you need to win or else you're not going to stay in the promotion. So it was a fun fight. It was a fun fight overall. AJ, brother, what happened? Alexandr Romanov versus Chase Sherman gets scrapped literally on fight day, literally at the last second. They say it was a health issue suffered by Chase Sherman. So first and foremost, definitely heal up, Sherman, whatever's going on. We hope that everything is taken care of. We hope that it's not a major issue. I also heard that it was done out of an abundance of caution. So the UFC was like, just to be really sure, like, we're going to scrap this. So it might not have been like some terminal, chronic, craziness. But my question to you is that I feel like the UFC normally does not take fondly of those who get back into the UFC by, I'll do you a favor, I'll take short notice, and then you pull out. I feel like they're not very fond of those cats. So do you think Chase Sherman gets another opportunity, or is contract null and void? What do you make of it?
That's exactly the question I had, Derick. Where does his contract go with this one? Because he just got cut. Now he does the big favor for the brass, the UFC, but then he's like, oh man, not gonna make it. And if it was a health problem, by all means, that is the safest thing to do. But I don't think the contract gets upheld. You didn't show up. You didn't fight. You did show up, but you didn't fight. It's kind of half of the deal not done. What I imagine is gonna happen with the UFC. I think they'll give him another shot, but terms of that is you have to fight, and then we'll give you the remainder of your contract. I don't think he's getting a fresh contract out of this one. I think if anything, the line's still open. You got a call for us. We can come in, hit you up. But I don't think the contract's going full kill. What do you think, Derick? How do you see this one playing out?
Well, even though we're sitting here assessing the situation as armchair lawyers, more or less, I don't know, brother. I think that they're going to give him a couple of more fights. I think at like 2, maybe, But then again, I don't know how the contract structure works, so I don't know what happens in a situation like this. Are there provisions? I'm sure there are provisions written in there saying that, like, hey, man, you don't fight. This doesn't count. Either way, you got to feel for him, man, because I was looking forward to this matchup. If anything, I was really looking forward to seeing Romanov be able to advance and continue in his career, because right now this sucks. On fight day, you get your fight pulled. All right, brother. So before we talk about some UFC main card, the 4 fights that we have and some prelim pour-over, I did want to discuss a little bit of Bellator action, right? We already talked Tyson Fury. He gets the KO win on Dillian White. This isn't a boxing program, right? So all we need to know is Tyson Fury says now he wants to fight an exhibition match against Francis Ngannou. We'll see what happens. That's been in the works for a while. But in other news, folks, I have 4 fights that I want to talk about via Bellator. I guess I should say regarding Bellator. This is Bellator 278, 279. These are 2 back-to-back pay-per-views that happened in Hawaii. One on Friday night, one on Saturday night. So the big one on Friday night, the one that I want to talk about, AJ, and this is perspective right here. The former UFC title challenger, the bantamweight title challenger, she fought Ronda Rousey for the belt. Liz Carmouche, Girl-Rilla, right? She fought Juliana Velasquez, who recently beat Alimale McFarlane to win the Bellator Flyweight Championship. And while that was a great victory, all yada, 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 all that good stuff, Juliana Velasquez loses to Liz Carmouche in a fight that she was more or less dominating. 4 rounds of domination. She ends up getting taken down. She gets her arm put in a bad position. She ends up in a crucifix against the cage. Little pitter-patter elbows were dropping down by Carmouche, but elbows nonetheless. And basically it came to the point of this. Elbows were dropping. It started getting a little more vicious, and Velasquez taking shots on the face, kind of looking around, but not doing anything correctly or actively to be able to advance the position, to safely move out of the position so she wouldn't take any damage. Thus, Mike Beltran felt like he had no choice but to walk in and wave the fight. Was there any blood? No. Did Juliana Velasquez look like she even entered a fight? No, not at the end of the fight. However, she was compromised. So AJ, I'm putting you in the referee spot right here. You're assessing 2 fighters. One fighter takes, even if it's pitter-patter and hard shots, 10 to 15 shots unanswered. Are you stopping the fight? Is that worth it, stopping the fight, or do you think it has to be more, especially in a title fight? I mean, what do you make of this?
Especially in a title fight. No, man, it depends on fully the situation. 10 to 15 unanswered. We've seen that happen, and as far as the damage, that's really what I'm more concerned about, man. Is she in a position where those keep raining down, those 15 to 20, and then she really starts getting some serious brain damage? Yeah, I'm stopping the fight. But I think on this one, on the pitter-patter, you kind of let him go. You look at the clock, see how it's going. But at that same point, man, being stuck in that crucifix position for someone who isn't as good on the ground as they are standing up, man, anytime I get crucifix, I'm done. I'm getting pummeled on. There's no getting out of that one for me. Tap, I'm out. I'm good. It's all good. Let's go. Same thing, man. Was she in too deep on that crucifix? Any way of getting her out, or is she just looking around doing nothing? That's kind of where I see the reason for stoppage. Like, oh, you're not going to get out. You still got 2.5 minutes. We're going to keep letting this girl just rain elbows down your head for another 2 minutes. Yeah, stop the fight.
Well, that was Liz Carmouche's argument when she got asked about it. She says, well, I think the referee did the right thing because a couple more shots, that could have been a broken orbital. That could have been you going unconscious. I would much rather shake your hand and say, hey, good performance, than you having to be stretchered out at a hospital. Which on one hand, I thought it was like a shot that she was taking, saying like, yeah, I would have fucked you up more. Nah. But on the other hand, respect, right? So I just think it's a bad way to lose a championship. I do hope that there's going to be an immediate rematch. But then again, Liz Carmouche says, I hope that I don't have to rematch her because I get bored with rematches. But it's like, I don't know. You win by finish, but it was like an iffy finish. But I don't think it was iffy. I don't know. It was tough. Either way, Liz Carmouche is the new Bellator flyweight champion of the world. So the thing that I need to put on top of this, that I need to layer on top of this, is that person that Juliana Velasquez took the belt from, Alimale McFarlane, right? She just fought at Bellator 279, excuse me. And she fought a UFC veteran, man. Do you remember when Justine Kish fought Sabina Mazo? And I had picked for Justine Kish, and it was such a close fight. Mazo edged it out, but it was such a close fight. And I was like, damn, Justine Kish is that one of those fighters who she's so game that you can never count her out. She goes to Bellator, loses her Bellator debut. Okay, that's fine. Now she was on a pretty nasty skid, man, losing a couple fights in a row. She fights Alimale McFarlane, the #1 contender in the flyweight division. Out-grapples her, decisions her, pretty easily, brother. So, like, you go from being the Bellator flyweight champion to losing to a Justine Kish, someone who got cut from the UFC, wasn't doing too hot in Bellator, and you lose in pretty dominating fashion. Now, let's do MMA math. If Juliana Velasquez beats Alimale McFarlane to win the championship, but Alimale McFarlane loses to Justine Kish in dominant fashion, how good was Juliana Velasquez? Does that make sense on what I'm saying?
Yeah, especially because Kish, and with all due respect, was kind of like a high B level fighter, especially in the UFC. But now, you get everyone under that just falling into line with the MMA math. I can see how good was she. It's hard to say, man. You get Alimale McFarlane in there. I thought, especially going forward, you being the champ, you have a lot of praise going. Then you just get taken down. Easy win for Kish. Yeah, it's man, MMA math, always an interesting one, especially for the matchmaking. I like how it unfolds.
Yeah. So it just made me just wonder, because no disrespect, right? Bellator fighters these are professional fighters. Everybody is good, but the UFC, it's just levels, right? It's just levels. So it's like, look Corey Anderson, for an example, gets cut from the UFC, and this dude arguably, I mean, he pretty much beat the brakes off Vadim Nemkov. Yeah, you had the headbutt, no contest, but if that didn't happen, he would have won that fight most likely, right? So a former UFC dude who gets cut ends up going and basically beating the champion in Bellator. A former UFC person, Justine Kish, gets cut, goes and beats the inaugural flyweight champion. It just makes you wonder, if these champions from Bellator stepped into the UFC cage against the UFC fighters, how would those things go? I'm not going to speculate any further. I just wanted to put that out there. Now, the last two fights that I want to talk about really quickly, folks. Cris Cyborg, right? How many Bellator title defenses does she have? I don't know. She's just known for always having a championship because she's Cris Cyborg, and that's what she does. She fights Arlene Blencow for a rematch, wins via decision. However, Blencow did do something that was pretty awesome, AJ. And 5 rounds in, right? Cyborg looking beautiful. No cuts, no nothing, right? The other girl bloodied up, Blencow. She points to the middle of the cage, puts her hand down Max Holloway style and says, "What's up? Let's bang." Who does that to Cris Cyborg? And who in their right mind does that to Cris Cyborg? I just got to give respect and praise for that simply alone. But, of course, Cyborg gets the win. She does say, we're going to talk about it in Word on the Street, that she wants to transition to a little bit of boxing after this, so we'll see what happens. Lastly, AJ, remember Rafion Superstats. Remember his last fight, I believe it was against Magomed Magomedov, and I picked Magomed Magomedov. I said the wrestling from the Dagestani would be too much. Stats proved us wrong. Well, he proved us wrong again. Not necessarily, but he gets a short notice replacement against Juan Archuleta. He was originally supposed to fight Sergio Pettis for the Bantamweight championship in this kind of Bantamweight Grand Prix they're in. Well, he becomes the first man to knock out Juan Archuleta, wins the interim Bantamweight championship, and moves on to the semifinals in the Bellator Bantamweight Grand Prix. He goes on to fight the winner of Danny Sabatello and someone else. Either way, the point is this man has gold around his waist now, brother. He's the real deal. Superstats is the real deal. What do you make of it?
Superstats is the real deal, man. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure I was going for Stotts, maybe Magomedov in the last fight, just because of how much pressure he had. But I think even there, man, Stotts blew the lid off the world. Everybody was freaking out. Now he's got gold around his waist. This dude's the real deal, man. It's gonna be fun to see how his career in the Bellator ring and even possibly other places kind of starts getting going, man. We're gonna have some serious conversations on our hand. How good this dude really is. I'm excited for it.
Absolutely, brother. So that is your Bellator 278, 279 recap. I did just want to run through those because those are some pretty big fights that happened in the fight world. UFC Vegas 52, no disrespect, it was a little bit of a snoozer in my opinion in comparison to these other cards. So with that being said, folks, I think that it's fair that we move on to the main card. But before we do that, I have to give you a quick reminder to drop a like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Hit us up on our YouTube channel. You can type in Free Thinkers Club. You can type in Bloody Water Podcast. Either way, just know that we have hit 306 65 subscribers, folks. So we appreciate you. I don't know where this quick little bump has been coming from, but that means we're almost up to 370, which means we're almost up to 400. And if we can get to 400 by the next couple of shows, we're going to be in good hands. More people are going to be able to get these good picks, make the money. And don't forget, we were talking about the high possibility of a Claudio Puelles plus 450 submission ticket on the prop. And guess what? It cashed. So you know what time it is. I just wanted to give you the quick reminder. Hit us up at bloodywaterpodcast.com, on Instagram at bloodywaterpodcast, and on Twitter at bloodywaterpod. But without any further ado, AJ, let's break down some main card fights. How about we? Yeah? Let's do it.
Wow.
Have you seen that replay, buddy? Your head was bouncing around like a pinball machine.
Time for some main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
All right, brother. So listen, man, we have to start off with history. We have to. It's a must. We need to talk about Jessica Andrade doing what she does on every single level of this fight. Now, she fought Amanda Lemos, who in the first round is probably when she is the most dangerous. But what do they have in common with Andrade? Andrade is most dangerous in the first round as well. This wasn't the game plan that I thought I would see from Jessica Andrade. She's much more patient. She just kind of held back, getting beat up by leg kicks. Couldn't really close the distance. Lemos with those sniper long arms. She was just waiting in that Muay Thai stance. But then, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, after only landing 3 significant strikes thus far, Jessica Andrade grabs Amanda Lemos, hugs her up, and puts her in a standing arm triangle and finishes the fight and just drops her, just leaves her her half-conscious body slumped on the ground and walks away, claps for herself and says, yeah, this is what I do. AJ, my man, you can't get more of a flawless performance in that sense of the word, but when you look at the grand scheme of the performance, had she not done that, I mean, things were heading all in Lemos' favor. So over the course of 3 rounds, at least, this was a 5-rounder, but even over 3 rounds, do you think Andrade would have been able to turn the tide a little bit, or do you think this was all Lemos?
I do think Andrade was playing for a longer game here. You know, usually we see her kind of come out full pit bull mode, going literally nose to the grindstone, all W key forward, man. Now she was a little patient. She's kind of seeing, you know, judging how things are going, but it was not ending up in her favor, man. Lemos throws absolute heat with everything she does too, man. Literally, whether it was a 1, a 2, a right kick, doesn't matter. Lemos throws heat and power, and if that fight would have kept going where Lemos was staying at range and Andrade not being able to get on the inside, it was looking a little rough for Andrade, man. I was getting a little worried for my pick right there for a second until you see the mini Mike Tyson come out and Andrade just starts ducking and going on the inside, snatches up that beautiful standing triangle, standing guillotine. It was awesome. Arm in triangle, whatever it was. It was beautiful. Either way. Yeah, man. That was it was crazy because I thought Lemos was gonna win this fight. I was not expecting that to happen that quick. And especially if this would have went longer, we would have been able to see something interesting. Because Lemos with that kind of output, would she have held up with the gas tank? I don't know, man.
Yeah. Well, I don't know either because she said that I don't care that it's 5 rounds. I'm fighting the same way I always fight. That's what Lemos had said going into the fight. Either way, Jessica Andrade did land the standing arm triangle. So that was just a thing of beauty right there, especially because they were noting, the commentary team, generally the arm triangle is finished when you're on the mat, when you're like down, right? So basically your opponent's back is flat on the mat, and then you grab that arm triangle, you sink in, you drop your chest down, and you get that nasty choking. But she did it standing. So a lot of them were saying, hey, man, I think she's going to have to drop it down to the mat, and then DC all of a sudden, there you go, it's done. Sorry, stumbling over words. All right, AJ, listen, man, you're right. Andrade took a different approach. And my question to this is that do you think we can see more success from her in the future in the strawweight division if she does decide to continuously take different approaches, not be that predictable pit bull? Because it worked for her against Lemos, but then again, lest we forget, Lemos cracked Andrade with 1 shot. I don't remember what it was, but she cracked her, and you can immediately go from reserved mode. You could see the Andrade reserve say like, oh, no. Okay, now I'm walking forward, and I'm about to go and whoop that ass. And as soon as she did that, that's when she walked forward, was aggressive, and grabbed the arm triangle. So when she went aggressive, it worked for her. That patient style wasn't, you could tell it's just not her style. But do you think that this is a game plan that will work in the future?
I don't think so, Derick. Because like you're saying, man, the patient approach she was taking, it was looking good, especially in a 5-round fight. If she wasn't getting tagged up as much, maybe we're having a different conversation here. But Lemos was piecing her up, man, and that's really the thing. If Andrade isn't going to be aggressive and she gets pieced up like that, I don't think it's going to work for her. I think she needs to stick to what it is. But to that point, if she is able to be patient, see things coming, get on her slips, and then kind of work that, I think that'll be an interesting way to see Andrade fight. But no, I don't think it'll work, at least in the meantime.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. I wouldn't prefer that she fights this way, but I do think that, listen, it's just going to have to pick and choose, right? She knew Lemos was a very dangerous opponent, so I think she did the correct thing. And we're going to have to talk a little bit later about where Jessica Andrade is going to be placed in the strawweight division. I mean, this was a big win, but then again, this was a win over a number 10 fighter, so it's not that huge of a win, I guess I should say. Either way, big win by Jessica Andrade. This is her first submission win since 2016, and when we were talking prop bets earlier on the preview show, I had Andrade by KO at plus 225, a Lemos KO at plus 400. Neither of us put up Andrade or Lemos for submission, so that was out of play. Not on my bingo card right there. Big win by Andrade. We'll move on to the next one. All right, AJ. Claudio Puelles, right? I said going into the fight, I think he's being overlooked. I think that there's some disrespect. No matter what he does, he can't get the respect that he deserves. All week he had been saying, I'm going to finish Clay Guida. I'm going to put on an impressive showing. Clay Guida says, kid, who do you think I am? I'm Clay Guida. I'm the carpenter. If you think you're finishing me, you got another thing coming. Well, less than a round later, Guida's knee gets tore up because Claudio Puelles notches his third knee bar finish in his UFC tenure, which technically should be 4 because he also has a knee bar victory on The Ultimate Fighter. So this dude is a knee bar specialist who somehow, some way doesn't train knee bars. So I don't know how he gets the knee bars, but the knee bars just keep on coming. Aside from the grappling exchanges, bro, I think that this was just a good performance by Puelles, man. I think Clay Guida does what Clay Guida does, man, and he wins or loses. Like, he lives and dies by it. But this was just super impressive by Puelles. What did you make of the performance in its totality? All 11 total strikes that were landed by Puelles. What did you make of it?
Man, you know those times in life where you have to perform. You've been saying all this stuff. You've been building yourself up, telling all your friends, I'm going to whoop this dude. Now the time to show up and actually perform, man. Puelles looked like he hasn't eaten in 3 days. He was hungry out there, man. He saw his meal sitting there. He said, I don't care how hard this meal out here works. I'm going to get him. And Puelles showed up, bro. Puelles looked crazy. It was wild how, because we all know how fast, how quick, how hardworking Clay Guida is in anything he does, man, whether it's on the ground, on the standing. Puelles was matching, if not outpacing him and keeping it going, man. Pressure, pace, power, everything was going for Puelles. It was impressive, man. That was literally the first note I wrote. This dude looks like a hungry animal, hasn't eaten in 3 days. He's out here. He's ready to go, man. It was very, very impressive win for Puelles on my time.
Brother, I agree with you completely. It's crazy to me because significant strikes, it's a crazy stat. He lands 1 of 3 significant strikes in this fight. Clay Guida, 3 of 4 significant strikes. There's no offense, man. It got down to the grappling, and Puelles, the one thing about him is his jiu-jitsu is so good. He's willing to engage. You want to take me down? Please. Like, come on, do it. Because I'm going to invert. I'm going to grab a knee. I'm going to do something. I'm going to grab a triangle. Because I'm pretty sure he had Guida tried to lock him up in a triangle. He had to switch it to an omoplata. That none of those things were working. So what does he do? He says, all right, well, I'm just going to dive for the leg. Knee bar is there. Boom, done. And that was the fight, man. And Clay Guida, you could see the disappointment on his face. But let's talk about Guida's situation. This was the last fight on his 4-fight contract. Do you think he gets his contract renewed by the UFC, especially losing in a devastating fashion like this? He has now lost, I believe, 3 of his last 5 fights. So that's pretty rough. What do you make of it?
Lost 3 of his last 5 is 40
years old. Yeah.
40 years old. Now you're on a 6 to 13 month rehab for that knee because that shit definitely popped. I don't know, man. I mean, they might reinstall that contract, but I don't know if the father time is on Clay Guida's side right here, man. That's a lot of rehab, especially for a 40-year-old guy kind of coming back. And we know the UFC has the top of the notch stuff, so he's more likely to do it than not.
Yeah.
But that's kind of my biggest holdup, more so is that recovery time from that knee bar, because that thing was extended, man. And as far as the contract, I think I can see them giving it to him. I'm not too concerned about that. I can see the UFC being like, yeah, if you're down to scrap, we got you a couple. And he's still mentally strong as well. You know what I'm saying? He's not stumbling too much. He's still on his game. So we see that. I think if the knee's ready and if he's performing well, I think they give him the contract. What about you?
Well, listen, if they give Matt Brown these legacy contracts, why wouldn't they give Clay Guida? Clay Guida is a bad man, and he's still beating up on people. And speaking of what we were talking about for the early stoppages for the Velasquez situation with Carmouche, right? If, what was it, Keith Peterson? I don't remember who the referee was, but if they didn't give Guida ample time to be able to recover from that Santos kind of beating that he was taking, he never would have got that win. So apples and oranges. I don't know. But so I agree with you. I don't know if they're going to give him another shot, but I hope that they do. Like I said, the Matt Brown example. Here's my last question on this scenario. Clay Guida, is there any shame fighting in the Bellators? Is there any shame fighting in the Eagle FCs? Is there any shame fighting in the PFLs? We were already kind of talking about this, but like if he has success at these lower levels, even though they're, you know what I mean, still top-notch organizations, he's Clay Guida, brother. I think that like he wants to fight, and if any promotion that allows him to fight, UFC or not, I think he'll take the opportunity. I don't know the man, but I just have a feeling he's a game dude like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And I don't think there's any shame in fighting in those organizations, especially if you're killing it, man. Go make that $1 million in the PFL all day long. Like, there's, if you got to pay your family, man, ain't no shame in that game. However, you got to get it done. That's what it is. So I say fight wherever you can, man. Bellator, PFL, Eagle FC, anything that's keeping your name in the lights and your family fed, by all means, man. I think that's very important. I'd like to see him too fight some of the other stuff. We can see kind of where the rest of the world stacks up.
Absolutely. And if not, let's just keep him on the Legends Victory Tour, right? Fighting he already did it, right? But, like how the Jim Millers, even the Bobby Green, even though he's an OG, he's still a game cat, you know what I mean? But all these legend fights. Claudio Puelles, on the other hand, last thing that I got, last thing I promise on this one. Claudio Puelles, man, I just think that he's ready for a legit opponent next. I'm not saying Clay Guida isn't, but I'm talking about ranked. You feel me? I think that he's ready. He's killing it. Submission threat is nasty. Laser beam of a left hand. Great win by Claudio Puelles. Now, AJ, this fight right here, Maycee Barber, she got the job done, 30-27 across the board, unanimous decision. But I think that this fight was closer than what the numbers appear. I said Montana De La Rosa is a sleeper fighter, that she is someone who I think is going to make a lot of noise because of the experience she has, her length. They basically were carbon copies of each other, except Maycee Barber was shorter and stouter and thicker and stronger, and Montana De La Rosa was longer and lankier and... yeah, that's basically the intangibles that I have. Not intangibles, but the characteristics, I guess I should say. But both of them want to walk forward, they want to strike, and they want to grapple each other. So there was a lot of clinch work on the fence and clinch work and reversal. So they're like this way on the flinch, then reverse, then reverse, then reverse, and then we get to the ground, and then we're here and we're there. When it comes down to takedowns, let's pull out some numbers. Maycee Barber, she is 1-4 on her takedowns, and Montana De La Rosa was 1-2 on her takedowns. No submission attempts by either fighter. Significant strikes, Maycee Barber lands 50, Montana De La Rosa lands 14. So clearly, Maycee Barber was busier, landed the bigger shots, landed the more effective dirty boxing and more effective ground and pound. But De La Rosa, man, this is just tough, man, just because I think she's such a talented fighter. Either way, Maycee Barber takes another step forward in the division, which is all she can do right now. Yeah, her growth and her trajectory has been slowed a little bit, but she's still moving forward, and that's the big key, man. What do you take away from this victory right here? Is this, oh, well, you're supposed to do that anyway, so it is what it is, or is this more of a scenario of, okay, you're proving to us again that you are the real deal, let's see where you can go next?
Yeah, this is an interesting one for me because as much of a good fight this was, a kind of grinding fight, like a fight you'll learn a lot from as both fighters, both Barber and Montana De La Rosa. My biggest thing is as good of a fighter we've seen Maycee Barber kind of come into the UFC, and she starts off, was it Hannah Cyphers?
Yep.
No, she in the contender series, man. She starts off in the contender series, and then the big one in the UFC, steps in her UFC debut against Hannah Cyphers, JJ Aldrich, Jillian Robertson, starts just running through girls. She was really, really good, man. She was talking about being the future champs. Very impressive. And I like what you said there, Derick. Kind of the growth has been not necessarily stopped, but stunted for Maycee Barber, especially after she tore her ACL. She went on that 2-fight losing streak, but the growth since then hasn't been as impressive, at least to me, and kind of on the eye test, as her first 3 wins in the UFC. These last 2, not as impressive. And is this is going to be a weird question, but do you put any account or any blame on Team Alpha Male for not making her more of a grinding wrestling fighter that's kind of boring and more of their style, and less of who she is as an impactful, explosive style? And is that why the growth has stunted, or is this more of something else that I'm not seeing? Because I kind of put a little bit of the blame in Team Alpha Male for making her not necessarily a boring fighter, but a grinder now. She's a grinder now. She's always had that kind of mentality, but she's usually been more flashy, more exciting, getting the fights done. Where now two unanimous or two decisions where she used to be ground and pound, knees and punches. What do you think?
Well, what I take away from this is that Maycee Barber is obviously going to dictate what she wants to do in the fight. Uriah Faber and Team Alpha Male can only do so much. You look at the other Team Alpha Male fighters, and they are absolute grinders, wrestlers, man. So this is kind of the whole entire protocol from this camp. We already know this. I think for Maycee Barber, being a young 23 years old, but having the experience and mentality of a chiseled vet at this point, I think that she's taken her career into her own hands and saying, well, if I have to take a step back from that crazy ground and pound, swinging like a gorilla approach, then I will if it means I get the victory, because that's the only thing that matters. She had a countdown timer on her phone for her being the youngest champion in UFC history. Now that wish is gone, that dream is gone. All you can do is be a professional and move forward in your career. So I think that she's probably if I had to do a percentage, 70% Maycee Barber, 30% Team Alpha Male, right? Because Team Alpha Male, at the end of the day, they're just trying to put a win on the board. You know what I mean? So Maycee Barber, let's rack those wins up. It's not as exciting. You don't have as much steam, right? I don't even think she has as much steam as a Miranda Maverick right now, even though Miranda Maverick is kind of slowed in her trajectory as well. I still think that the long game, right? The long con that you got going on here is that she's only 23 years old. So let her grow for another 2-3 years, brother. I don't imagine she wouldn't have fought for a title, or I'm speaking in the future, right? I think she will have fought for a title by the age of 25, 26, at least, you know what I mean? And if not, guess what? You're only 26. You got a shelf life up to 30 plus in this game, you know what I mean? So I think Maycee Barber has a bright future ahead. It's just, she even said it, man. She's like, this is not how this thing was supposed to go. And guess what? We don't get to control our fates. We can only put in the work that we can and react to, what we can. We can't control, things. Or we can't trip off the things we can't control. You know what I'm trying to say. Last thing here, AJ, is the Maycee Barber, all that good stuff. Montana De La Rosa, I already said it's been very up and down career for her. She's 12-7-1. If you look at her last fights, lost against Maycee Barber, win against Lipsky, draw to Bueno Silva, lost to Araujo, win against Romero Bahela, lost to Andrea Lee. Then she had a big submission streak before that, man. Do you think she will inevitably get back on track? That's the big question for me. Can she put together a streak here? Does she have to stay in that zone of, I'm only going to fight the kind of B-level, B-tier fighters? Because when she's fighting the A-level fighters, she's pretty much dropping those wins. So what do you think?
I think she will, man. And if the Ariane Lipsky fights anything, I think if she stays in that kind of style where almost unexpected, I think Montana De La Rosa can deliver, because Ariane Lipsky, she has now become more of that lower level A tier fighter. So there's the window. I can see the steps to being taken for Montana De La Rosa. Yeah. But you're right. She does suffer with some big names, especially, the Andrea Lees, the Viviane Araujo's, all those names. But I do think she has what it takes to push herself past that. You know what I'm saying? So I think she can do better. And
listen, she's only 27 years old. So I think as long as she sticks around, man, the future is bright for both of these fighters. It's just unfortunate that they had to match up already right now. Big win by Maycee, the future Barber. Now, AJ, this is a fight that didn't play out the way that I expected. To be honest, man, it actually was playing out exactly how I expected until it didn't. So I said Charles Jourdain versus Lando Vannata. This is going to be a fun back and forth fight. However, I think Lando Vannata has the speed advantage. I think he's more experienced. The combinations are going to be better, and he has an edge in the grappling. Well, he got submitted, so how does he have the edge in the grappling? AJ, I still think he had the edge in the grappling. I still think he had complete control of the fight until he just kind of did a rookie mistake, man. And this is something that happens when you get into that front choke position like Jourdain did, and he just latched his arm right underneath here and had a vice grip on that throat right there. So every time Lando Vannata, he tried to fight the hands, he did it once effectively. Jourdain put it right back, and that was game over, man. He had that one-arm guillotine, which is a very effective maneuver if you know what you're doing and you're strong, and he just caught him, man. Caught him with his pants down, literally, man. Dude literally got his... And this sucks because this is something you have to deal with in the jiu-jitsu gym. This is something I've dealt with before where you're getting choked and your pants are falling down, so you have to make a decision. Am I going to pull my pants up and address that, or am I going to address the choke? Or am I going to tap out, or what am I going to grab? And for Lando Vannata, he didn't address the pants. He worried about the choke, still ended up having to tap. So it was game over. Big win by Charles Jourdain. But let's break down the beginning, AJ. What did you see? Did you see the Lando Vannata who picked up Jourdain, slammed him on the ground? Did you see the Lando who hit him up with a nice little combo, move out the way, slick, head movement? What did you see here?
I mean, I think the Vannata description you're talking about was right, man. He was looking good, man. Vannata, he was landing those big body kicks. He's seeing it. He's looking good. He's on the front foot, kind of going. But at that exact same point, man, what I saw in the fight was Jourdain reading all of that, seeing it, being the patient guy we were talking about, that Muay Thai style, stalking you down, seeing what's going on, allowing Lando Vannata to kind of come off, hit his combos, fire off a couple rounds a little bit, kind of start feeling himself, getting in that flow. And then Jourdain said, oh, okay, yeah, you hit me with one good one. I saw what it is. I know what you're doing. Next time you throw it, I'm landing a big left hand, dropping you. That's what I saw, man. It looked good for Lando Vannata. He was starting off real nice until Jourdain over there was trying to get his reads. He started seeing the things that Lando Vannata was throwing, and then that's really where the unraveling of Vannata started to happen for me, man.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. That left hand was beautiful. That counter left just dropped Lando, and it was the beginning of the end from there. So Lando did put a little Instagram post saying, listen, man, my body was in tune. I felt great. Everything was on fire. I was connecting. I just got caught. And that's the fight game. So Jourdain gets the win. But AJ, if this would have went 3 rounds, I mean, what do you expect? It went 3 rounds. We both picked Vannata, but from the little bit that we saw, there was a total combined significant strikes of 12 between both of these fighters. So it was short. We didn't get to see much. But what do you predict if this fight did go 3 rounds?
If it was 3 rounds, I still have Vannata, man, running around, kind of staying from the outside, picking things apart, looking smooth like he was, because he was looking smooth, man. He was staying away from stuff. He just got caught. Big left-hand counter. And the thing is he landed a beautiful straight kick right up the middle on Jourdain. Mm-hmm. So then he thought, okay, I'm doing good. And he was looking nice until he wasn't.
Absolutely, man. So for Charles Jourdain, this is actually his first submission win of his UFC career. He has 4 total, but this was the first one in the UFC. So this is not something that we've seen from him at the highest of levels. And he calls out Edson Barbosa after his win. And he says, hey, Edson, I just want to let you know, I'm not going to try to take you down, bro. First one to drop. That's how we're going to go. Either I'm going to die or you're going to die, but someone's going to die. And that's why you got to love Charles Jourdain for that, because this win over Lando Vannata, even though it was one of those odd ones where you just snatch up the guillotine and that's it, this is proving that he is surpassing these levels, that he's getting to that next stage, that next echelon, the next tier of elite fighters. So shout out to Charles Jourdain. For Lando Vannata, though, man, you do have to just say you got to feel for my man. Am I right? You look at his last 5, 2-3 in his last 5, losses to Jourdain, Bobby Green, and Mark Jacasey. So it's a tough one, man, but hopefully he gets back on track. Big win by Air Jourdain. And with that being said, that is the conclusion of our main card recap. AJ, now let's do a little bit of prelim pour-over, shall we? So, AJ, there were some fun fights on the prelims, and one that I want to talk about specifically was Aoriqi Lang versus Cameron Else. That was your sleeper, brother. Your sleeper delivered. Both of our sleepers delivered. Didn't we say back-to-back sleepers? Guess what? Back-to-back knockouts. Who would have known? We would have known because we do the film for you guys. We review. That's why. So tune in. You dig. But, all right, Aoriqi Lang versus Cameron Else, brother. Cameron Else was throwing big bombs, swinging for the fences. He was trying to get Aoriqi Lang out of there. But this performance right here, AJ, this reminded me. This made me say, oh, Aoriqi Lang, you fought Jeffrey Molina in your first fight. Who was his second one against? Let's pull it up real fast because this is important. Unless you know off the top of your head, AJ.
I don't.
Okay, let's find out right now. So Aoriqi Lang, you lose your first one. You fight Cody Durden, the wrestler, in your second one. Okay, all right. Listen, you dropped both of those unanimous decision losses. All right, but you had your moments. Now this is a fight where you get a little step down in competition, and what do? You make this dude look like a rookie, like an amateur. Aoriqi Lang looked like a world beater in this fight, and that's what reminded me. It's matchups make fights, man. Styles make fights, and given the style of this fight, he was able to use his speed, have a speed advantage, have a power advantage, and when he got Else down against the cage, and he just dropped that big bomb on him, I was like, oh, Aoriqi Lang, you're a nasty, nasty motherfucker, man. The Mongolian murderer. He has that nickname for a reason. So with that being said, AJ, he gets the big win. I think he got robbed of a performance bonus personally, but that's neither here nor there. I don't write the checks. What do you think the future is for Aoriqi Lang? Finally gets the first UFC win. That's important. If you didn't get it, you're probably getting cut. But now I think we see some really fun fights in the future. What do you think?
Really fun fights in the future, man. And he's ranked a little low, both, in the flyweight, bantamweight, so wherever he wants to go. It's going to be interesting because I do see a lot of very fun fights for the Mongolian murderer, man. There's a lot of things that Aoriqi Lang does right and a couple that he does wrong, but at the same point, this dude is an exciting fighter. And the nice thing about it is we get to see very exciting fights with him. We always know when Aoriqi Lang's in there, we're going to see some bombs. We're going to see some fireworks coming. And I think that's more if not more important, just as important as who the guy he's facing. You know, like there's certain times where I think like no matter who he fights, we're gonna tune in. Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor, whatever the case may be, whoever your favorite is, every time he fights, we're gonna tune in. Richie Lang is gonna be one of those names where we see, oh, he's fighting again. Ooh, this dude throws some heat. That's what I like most about him is he's gonna be that guy where we know he's a dog and we can depend on him to be that dog in that cage. Very fun fights, whether he's fighting. I'm expecting 25, 30 at the lowest coming up, ranked around there, around that level of fighter. But no matter who it is, it's going to be a fun fight.
Well, that actually reminded me, I forgot to mention, but Richie Lang actually, this was his move up to bantamweight. He originally was fighting a flyweight. So this is, you move up, you get a little healthier, a little more meat on your bones, and next thing you know, you're just sleeping dudes, right? So big win there. And then I do agree, the commentary team did mention, they're like, dude, we'd love to watch this dude fight. He just needs to win. Like, we want to keep seeing you fight. You just got to put a win on the board, brother. So big win, by Richie Lang. Now let's talk about something a little controversial, a little weird. Mike Jackson, he fought Dean Barry, and this was a fight where Mike Jackson entered as a plus 600 underdog. Dean Barry was a minus 900 favorite. Now, I don't know how this works. I'm sure it still works because a DQ is a DQ, but Mike Jackson got the win, man. He got the win at plus 600, so whoever bet on Mike Jackson, you came up. Was it the way he wanted to win? Most likely not. But AJ, you tell me, you get spinning back kicked in the nuts, and then you get a nasty finger in your eyeball, and then you have your opponent talking about, he took the easy way out, right? He didn't want to fight me. What do we make of this, brother? You can't be a dirty dude like that and just sit there and be talking trash on your opponent. Like, you the one who poked him. You're the one who kicked him in the nuts, man. That was you. Tell me what you think of this, brother.
And it was a different kind of eye poke, too. It wasn't one of those ones that just glanced in and then like, oh, shit, like I pulled back out. Yeah. He curled his fingers in there and turned his face with it. That was a hell of an eye poke, man. Me, if I was Jackson in there, I wouldn't know if I would have wanted it to finish because I would have wanted to kick him in the nuts at least a couple times. You know what I mean? Like, give me my payback, bro. Like, yeah. I can kind of barely see out his right eye. I'm eye for an eye. We're going, man. Yeah. A little dirty. I'll admit. Probably not the up to par with how the UFC is. So it's good that they did they did end the fight, and I do like the DQ. I think it's a good call. I think it took a lot of balls for the referee to go in there and say that. A lot of people, those usually go, especially two different fouls, usually go under the radar. Mm-hmm. Kicks him in the nuts one time. Oh, well. You poke him in the eye one time. Oh, well. Then we start working on the next one. I like what they did, man. They did the DQ because it was a hell of an eye poke. Like I said, there's a difference between an eye poke and a scrape and a drag. I like it, even though Jackson was getting the piss beat out of him. He was getting beat up. But I think it's a good precedent to set, man. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree. He was getting work, though, man. 36 to 18 in terms of a significant strike difference. And Dean Barry, the problem was he went in there trying to just take dude's head off, man. So it's like he wasn't fighting smart. You could tell he was swinging for the fences. He was trying to get that knockout. Because he's also saying, how embarrassing would it be if I lost to a dude like Jackson? Like, are you kidding me? Let's not forget, Dean Barry actually went up a weight class, man. He's not a welterweight, bro. He's actually, I think he's a lightweight or a featherweight or something like that. But he went up a weight class. You got to give props to Dean Barry, but at the same time, you can't be dirty like that and be talking mess. I don't know, because for Mike Jackson, you got to feel for him, but then again, his shenanigan, I don't know, man. I don't know if anyone won this fight in totality. All right, man, a couple quick hitters before we move on and get the show on the road, brother. Jordan Wright, the Beverly Hills Ninja, fought Marc-Andre Barriult and got submitted with the quickness, first round guillotine. This has been a rough start to his professional, his UFC tenure, man, for Jordan Wright. This is a dude who was knocking out everybody. You enter into the UFC, and what happens? You get the big win on Ike Villanueva. You knock him out in the second round. Boom. You knock out Jamie Pickett. Boom. But what happened in between that? You get knocked out by Joaquin Buckley. You get knocked out by Bruno Silva. You get submitted by Marc-Andre Barriult. I mean, brother, 2-3 in the UFC. I mean, his style, clearly, there's something not clicking. So my question to you is Marc-Andre Barriult just that guy? Or is Jordan Wright finding out that at the highest levels, maybe he needs to take a step back before he, comes back and gives it another shot? What do you think?
As much as Barriult is that guy and very powerful, and we saw him very slick, I think this is more of a Jordan Wright, and you said it before in the the Jourdain Vannata with that one-arm guillotine, where Vannata was making a rookie move. This was, to me, was the biggest rookie move of the night by Wright, man. He was in deep when he was on the high crotch and he decides to leave his head on the outside. even me, an amateur grappler, man, I don't do well in the bag, or I don't do well on the mats. I know, get your head out of there. Put it in the middle. Don't let him choke you. Sure enough, Jourdain Wright leaves his head there and then goes to the ground even deeper. Yeah, this was very much an amateur mistake from Jourdain Wright, and I think this is the time to learn. If not before, now definitely the time to learn that these dudes are serious everywhere. You can't just be you can't be a Stephen Thompson anymore and get to the top of the level. You need to have that ground game going as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. And even though it is an amateur mistake, it happens, brother. It happens to me all the time. I shoot in for that single, your head slips on the outside for just that split second. Next thing you know, you're getting guillotined. So what do you need to do from there? You don't fall into their guard. You try to pass over. You try to get to a different spot. But it all happens in the moment, man. Easier said than done. Trust me, when a man's forearm is just cinched around your throat. And when I saw that, though, and I saw how deep, bro, it was deep. It wasn't just one of those like on the chin. It was deep. So then again, when you can't breathe, it's kind of tough to be able to even think about any of that stuff. All right, Tyson Pedro, my sleeper, right? He knocks out Ike Villanueva. We said gimme. For better or for worse, it was a gimme. We'll just leave it at that. Leg kicks were phenomenal. Power was impeccable. I mean, what are we saying? The return of Tyson Pedro. Folks, you're welcome. All right, man. Evan Elder versus Preston Parsons. Evan Elder, listen, he got the brakes beat off of him, but very valiant effort. Grit, heart on full display. I think he won over the fans, and he stole the show with his tenacity. We'll talk about that more in a second. Lastly, Dwight Grant, Sergey, Hondosko. We already talked about it. Come on, big win by Hondosko. All right, brother, that was your UFC Vegas 52, and it was cool, right? It was something. It was MMA, it was fights. I'd much rather take this than no fights, personally. But then again, you got the NBA playoffs going on. You got what other sports are happening? I don't even know. Hockey, I guess. Do you watch hockey, AJ? Just real quick, do you?
I like live hockey. I do love live hockey. Going to the rink, seeing it. It's a lot of fun. I do not watch it on TV, unfortunately.
Yeah. No disrespect. There's something, it rubs me the wrong way. When I see it on TV, it angers me. It frustrates me, No disrespect. Like, listen, for y'all who do it, that's all you. I guess that's why we're covering MMA. We're not covering hockey and basketball and all that good stuff. All right, either way, folks, listen, at this point, we knocked out the prelims. We knocked out the main card. We talked Bellator. So now we need to take a dive into the women's strawweight division, brother. I think that we need to talk about the future of Jessica Andrade and where she's going to be placed. So, AJ, Jessica Andrade, she defeats Amanda Lemos, right? Number 10 in the women's strawweight division. The person who was supposed to be this dark horse, the person who was supposed to be the next up-and-coming killer who's going to challenge the Rose Namajunas, the Zhang Weili's, all that fun stuff, right? However, it looks like the plan has been stalled out. So let me just hit a little something. There we go. All right, hold on, brother. Okay, here we go. Let's take a look, folks. So we're diving into the women's strawweight division ranking. So on the far left, for those who are watching, you can see this is the UFC consensus rankings. Right here in the middle, you got my personal rankings and you got AJ's rankings. Clearly, Jessica Andrade is not in anywhere seen here. She's been fighting at flyweight for the last couple of fights. That's okay. But the big question is, you beat number 10. All right, cool. Number 10, she's out the way. Let's look at this list of fighters. Yeah, Michelle Waterson, right, who is on hiatus right now. I think she's dealing with some injuries or something, not going to be fighting. Amanda Hebos, she's active. Tisha Torres coming off a loss. Nina Nunez coming off of a loss, I believe. Yan Xiaonan, I think coming off a loss, right? Or maybe she won her last fight. Either way. Mackenzie Dern coming off the big win. Marina Rodriguez, Carla Esparza, Zhang Weili. These are your title contenders right here. Dern, Rodriguez, Esparza, Weili. Those are the people in title contention. Now, when we talk about Jessica Andrade, we then need to ask the question. Against Mackenzie Dern, can she get it done, AJ?
Andrade against Dern. I don't know, man. Dern's powerful. Well, in the striking, I think Andrade can get it done, especially very early. Dern leaves herself a little bit open, so yeah, I'm gonna go with yes. But if she gets caught up in the ground game, no. So that a coin toss for me, but I can see it happening.
Well, let's not forget on the back, you can't see it, but that little card right here, this thing right here, that's that Jessica Andrade submission specialist card right there, brother. Come on, man. Don't forget, she got real chops with the submissions. Hasn't done it in a while. She's fallen in love with the hand, but let's not forget what she's capable of. Marina Rodriguez, can she get it done against her?
I don't know, man. Marina's very long, lanky, stays at the range too, not going to be able to get on the inside. Very hard fight right there. I think Marina gets it done, but again, very hard fight. I think it's close. So possibly, but I'm pulling for Marina on that one.
I think I'm going to have to go against the grain. I think Andrade gets it done because she has the edge in grappling, heavy edge in grappling. So as long as she can close the distance, slam her on her butt, and keep her there, I think that there's going to be some problems. Ground and pound, nasty. Carla Esparza, can she get it done against her?
Now that's the opposite because I think Carla Esparza is pretty good on the ground too, as well, and very, very strong, man, and a gritty fighter, excuse me. These are all very hard fights too, man. I actually think Andrade gets it done against Esparza. That's one of those ones where the wild card, the pit bull comes out, and I think Andrade might be able to get that one. I don't know. What do you think?
I think that would be a very tightly contested fight, but given that Andrade has those nuclear bombs in her hands, I think that she might be able to give Esparza some real problems, especially because Esparza, she's kind of squeaked past her last couple of opponents. It hasn't been like real domination wins. The only one that was against Yan Xiaonan. So lastly, Zhang Weili. Let's not forget what Weili did to her in the first fight. Weili put her down in the first round, like the first opening minute of the round. So in a rematch, do you think Andrade can get it done against her?
I think Weili still has it, but I do think it goes further because Andrade has grown exponentially since that fight, especially in the striking, the ground game. Like you said, man, submission specialist. So she is out there being, putting in that extra work too. And that's actually a note I didn't say, man. You were talking about it a lot, Derick. Andrade putting in that extra work out there. I still think Weili gets it done though, man. I'm excited because we're going to see her against JJ coming up. But I still think Weili's just damn world beater out there, man.
Well, that was the X factor that you just brought in that I have yet to mention. Folks, if you're watching, you can see that me and AJ both have Joanna Jędrzejczyk ranked at number 4 in the strawweight division. However, the UFC has taken her out. She's been out for a while, but we still remember JJ is the real, she's the GOAT of the strawweight division, in my opinion, personally. Can Andrade get it done against Joanna Jędrzejczyk?
Oh, man, Joanna Warrior. At the moment, I think yes, but I really need to see what JJ comes in and does against Weili because that's a whole nother level right there. John has been talking all this mess about she only fights top of the world, all this stuff, but we haven't seen her. We haven't seen her, man, in what, like 2 years, 3 years, something like that. So we need to see how that pudding is looking before I can actually give it yes or no. Yeah. I think Andrade gets it done, though, man, just off of time away.
Yeah, Joanna, her last fight was against Weili Zhang, when she got her head busted up, right? She's a hell of a fighter, but inactivity does something to everybody, man. So you can't rule that out. Now, let's just talk really quickly, man. Andrade does have wins over, let's look at it. No. She has wins over Raquel Pennington, Joanne Wood, Jessica Penne, Angela Hill, Claudia Gadelha, Tisha Torres, Carolina Kovalevich. You know what I'm talking about. Let's see. Caitlin Chikagian, Cynthia Calvillo, Amanda Lemos, right? Those are big names, but she has losses to Shevchenko, Zhang Weili, Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She already lost to Joanna, let's not forget. I didn't want to put that out there, but that was a long time ago. It was 2017, but she did lose a unanimous decision to her. Raquel Pennington, she has a loss against her, lost against Marion Renault, Liz Carmouche, right? The new Bellator flyweight champion. Look, and that fight was in 2013, man, a long time ago. So, listen, man, I think the prospects are bright, but the question now, this is the final question, now that we've done all of this context, where come Tuesday for the ranking update, where is Jessica Andrade going to be in your rankings?
Come Tuesday, man, I'm putting her right about that 6 to 7 level area, at least for me, man. Maybe 5-6. Yan Xiaonan, right around there, maybe a little bit above her. Mackenzie Dern, I can see those. That whole area right there for at least my rankings, 5, 6, 7. That's kind of where I see her living nicely. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't see anyone under that really giving her too much of a hard time. But the ones above, I can see the real scraps coming in. So I'm going right around that, at most number 5, lowest number 7, right around there. What are you thinking, Derick?
So I'm not going to be fair here, just because I value the wins at flyweight. I value those, and I'm gonna put those into my calculator, into my algorithm, to then place. I'm going to place Jessica Andrade, I think, firmly at that number 4 spot in my rankings. I think that she can get past JJ and Dern right now, given the circumstances right now. So I think that's going to be a fair spot. I'll put Andrade there, and then we'll just see what happens in the future, man. Let's not forget she's a former champion. Like, come on, what are we talking about here? Joanna gets to stay at number 4 because she's a former champion, and she hasn't fought. And she hasn't fought in years. So Andrade, she's been active, and she can't be number. Come on. So yeah, that's where I'm gonna go, folks. That is your 60 seconds rankings review for Jessica Andrade. She's back in the strawweight division. It's gonna be it's gonna be fun in this division. Okay, AJ. Now we can move on to the fighter of the night.
Right now, there is not a man on this planet that can stop me inside this octagon.
The celebration was more work than the fight. Fighter of the night.
All right, brother. So this is the segment of the show where we talk about somebody who has the intangible, somebody who did something jaw-dropping during the UFC fight night, or UFC Vegas 52, I should say, right? During the performance, they did something incredible. The intangibles, the storylines, everything lined up to not make the fight of the night because the UFC already got that taken care of. But the fighter of the night, something unique to the Bloody Water podcast. AJ, UFC Vegas 52, who was your fighter of the night?
Oh, Derick, there's actually for a somewhat sleeper of an event card, man. I'm always trying to stay away from the layups. You know, we talked about it ad nauseum now. Andrade, the first standing single arm triangle, arm in triangle, whatever it was. Again, I'm already butchering one more time. That's amazing. But man, I'm going with the lesson learned for me, man. I'm going Claudio Puelles right here as my fighter of the night. Overlooked by everybody, including me. I was going for Clay Guida. I thought the Carpenter was going to put it to him, man. I thought we were going to see a clinic right here. Puelles says, fuck that. I'm showing you who the real dog is in here. I'm taking this dude's knee home with me. Very rough loss for Clay Guida, but a very impressive win for Claudio Puelles. Has a somewhat cringy call out at the end. He tried to copy, I forget who it was. The Englishman, the new cash cow. Patty. You try to call out, you do the Patty style going against Twitter. Always a weird move. Always a weird move. And then he has some weird stuff about being on the commentary, saying he can talk well, but he's stuttering at the exact same point. Very interesting sidebar for Puelles, but I'm glad he took the shot. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad he was out there saying the stuff he wants, kind of putting that action out there. I respect and appreciate what he was doing. But for me, this was a lesson learned, man. Don't underestimate this dude coming in. Puelles is a real deal. And the fact that he knows better than to practice the knee bars on his teammates in class, in the gym. And he actually says, no, I'm going to leave it for when I'm trying to really, break people out there. Good dude. He has a good heart, good fighter. Now, kind of put on the map, man. A win against the Carpenter and Clay Guida. That's a huge win for Claudio Puelles, and it kind of puts him in the hot seat now. I'm excited to see where this young cat goes in the future. Hopefully, they give him the broadcasting spot on ESPN, Deportes, whatever it is. But I'm excited to see this dude fight, man. His stand-up was looking interesting. We'll see how it grows. Obviously, the ground game, very impressive. But like I said, man, Puelles put on the real deal show, and that's why he's my fighter of the night. Coming in unexpected, but taking a knee home with him, always a good win for Claudio Puelles. That's why I'm making him my fighter of the night. Derick, what do you think, and who you going with?
Well, I thought it was a great fighter of the night. This was someone that I expected to win. Let's not forget that, right? I said Puelles was the real deal. He's already ready to go, so not surprising to me, but I can understand he finally put the world on notice right here with the big statement signature win against Clay Guida, the Carpenter. Now, for my fighter of the night, I'm going to keep it short and sweet today. I just want to talk about a fighter who, this is going to be unorthodox, and this is a fighter who actually lost, right? So first, let me talk about the winner of this fight. Preston Parsons, he fought Evan Elder, and he basically put on a clinic, man. 121 total strikes to 34, 75 significant strikes to 27, 7 minutes and 48 seconds of control time, 4 takedowns, 5 submission attempts. What more can you ask for? Preston Parsons, he is the real deal. He lost his UFC debut to Daniel Rodriguez, but he came back in dominant fashion against Evan Elder on short notice, right? However, I want to talk about Evan Elder because one thing that made him stand out for fighter of the night is that all those stats that I just named, right? Basically getting whooped on for this entirety of this fight. He could have given up at any point in this fight, like literally from round 1, round 2, round 3. He could have been like, all right, brother, any of these submission attempts, we're going to tap. We're going to call it. That's it. I'm done. I have no more left in the gas tank. However, he refused to quit on himself in front of the largest stage he's ever fought on, right? This is a lightweight who moved up to 170 pounds to fight a killer like Parsons on short notice so he can enter the UFC. So this is kind of my whole entire takeaway. When you have grit, when you have tenacity, when you have heart, it goes to show that you can win over the crowd, you can win over the fans, and people are going to want to see you fight. So for that reason, Evan Elder is my fighter of the night. I want to see more from this dude in his natural weight class. I respect anybody who can take a beating and keep getting up time and time again. This is the Dragon Ball Z Goku style right there. You just keep getting up. Every time they sit you back down, you keep getting up. Evan Elder fought through 5 submission attempts. He did a little bit of damage himself on Preston Parsons, but at the end of the day, it was a loss. A loss is a loss is a loss, just like a win is a win is a win. Evan Elder, I'm just excited to see you back in the cage, and for that reason, unorthodox, brother, but he's my fighter of the night. But then again, lastly, we have to give props. Shout out to Preston Parsons. That was a killer performance right there. So it was a little weird take on fighter of the night for me this week, but I felt like sometimes, and AJ, you've done this before as well, the winning fighter isn't always the man who had the most impressive outing. It's weird of a thing that is to say. That's how I feel. All right, brother, let's get into some word on the street, my man. So, I didn't have no whoosh. Where's my whoosh? There is no whoosh there. I don't like that. Where's the whoosh? No, I need a whoosh. There we go. All right, the whoosh is there. All right, brother, so here we are. And we're a little too early for that music right there, so we're going to pause that out. If I can. There we go. All right, brother. Here we go. Word on the street. I only got a couple of things that I want to talk about today. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about was this article right here. So Cris Cyborg, she contemplates a long-awaited boxing match after her Bellator 279 wins. It's been one of my dreams. So listen, man, this is basically what we're starting to see from all of the best, right? They want to then take the money fights. Let me get out of this MMA stuff and let me go and fight somebody in a boxing cage, right? In a boxing ring, excuse me. She says it's been one of my dreams. Maybe it's going to be the next one I'm working on. I don't know. I don't know who's going to be next or who Bellator put in front of me. Kat Zingano, Nunez, right? It's a big key right there. Nunez, Kayla Harrison. I want to be on a big show, all that good stuff. But basically, man, she wants to go fight at 155 pounds or 147 pounds in terms of a boxing match. This is all I want to talk about right here, especially when we have the stuff that is going on with Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou. To see Cyborg do it, I want to know, do you think this will generate buzz? Do you think this will put asses in seats? Do people want to tune into Cyborg in a boxing ring?
I really don't think so, Derick. Like my big thing, I know I hate to say it, like shoot it down right away, man, but who's she gonna fight that's gonna be exciting? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And even in what she was saying, where she's like, I don't know who Bellator is gonna put in front of me, a girl I've already beat, or 2 girls in organizations that I have 0 chance of ever fighting. Like there's no like, yeah, like I would like to see it against who? I don't know. So I think shot 3 out of 10. You know, out of 10, I think it's a 3 that we actually get to see this done. I would like to see if it is one of her dreams come true to be a boxer. Yeah, all right, word. At that point, you know, maybe try some Golden Gloves, get in there with somebody. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, you know what? I think you make a fair point. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like, I obviously we want to see Ngannou box. This is the heavyweight champion of the world. But for Cyborg, especially because she fights at 145 pounds, I just don't know, brother. I don't know. And so basically I agree with you. So how about let's take the other perspective of it. Money-wise, she probably make a boatload of money fighting boxing, whether a bunch of people want to watch or not. So given that's the new scenario, that's the new segue, right? We say, all right, MMA now, let's tailor on over to the boxing, right? Legacy-wise, what does this do for Cris Cyborg? Is this just a money scheme, money grab? Do you like that this is the kind of trend fighters are taking? What do you think?
I think it's all about the money grab right here. I don't like the scheme. I gotta respect the hustle, and it just came to me. I think the real money fight right here, and I'm calling it first before anyone ever says it. I think she beats up Jake Paul in a boxing match. I think that's how it goes, bro. Imagine that would be the fight where I'd be like, okay. All right, we can see this. I don't think it's going to happen. Obviously, 185, 190-pound dude versus 145-pound woman. But I still think she could whoop that ass, though. Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe, brother. I don't know. Jake Paul's a big boy. You know what I'm saying? So size doesn't matter. I'll just leave that there. So if Cyborg couldn't knock out the girl she was fighting right here at Bellator, you think she'll knock out Jake Paul? I mean, I don't know, brother. Either way, boxing aside, I guess one more thing on boxing. Tyson Fury, Francis Ngannou. We talked about it earlier. This is basically, so Tyson Fury, he says, all right, that's it. I'm walking away from the sport of boxing, but I'm still going to whoop on Ngannou in a hybrid match. Maybe not be full boxing. Might be small gloves, right? The 3-ounces, you know what I mean? In a boxing ring. Or it could be boxing gloves in a cage with mixed rules. This is reminiscent to the Muhammad Ali when he did that mixed rules fight back in the day. So chances. I just want to keep it simple, clear here. In a boxing match, let's just say it's a standard boxing match. None of the small gloves, none of that. 1 round. Can Ngannou get Tyson Fury out in 1 round in a pure boxing set matchup?
I don't think so, man. I don't think those hands are crisp enough. They're not fast enough. And Tyson Fury's seen it all, man. You know what I'm saying? If he's not getting knocked out by the bronze bomber, as much power as Ngannou has, the style, the technique, and I can't remember his name right now. The bomber is not the most technical fighter.
Deontay Wilder?
Deontay Wilder, thank you. Deontay Wilder's not the most technical fighter. Neither is Francis Ngannou. But Tyson Fury's already seen that, so it's not nothing to stress about. I don't think it happens. Do you?
No, man. I think it's boxing, but it's just a different game, right? You can't hit what you can't touch. That's what it comes down to, man. And for Tyson Fury, this is a dude who, Dillian White had bombs in his hand trying to take off Fury's head, and he just dipping, ducking, diving, dodging, Either way, man. Interesting on the word on the street this week. That's really all we had, man. There was nothing crazy happening in the MMA world. So with that being said, I think it's time we move on over here to the outro, brother. And this is where we need to have a little bit of some music right there. All right, brother. Next week we got Rob Font versus Chito Vera. This is gonna be a fun fight, brother. And I actually wanted to just name off a couple of bouts that we have on here. So we also have Andrei Arlovsky back at it against Jake Collier. We have GM3 Gerald Mearscart against Krzysztof Jotko. Looks like we got Andre Touchy-Feely versus Joe Anderson Brito. That should be a fun fight right there. Gino Mazzani versus Shanna Young. Natan Levy, he's back against Mike Breeden. So this is, and then it looks like they moved the Romanov-Sherman bout to next week. So we will be seeing Romanov-Sherman. Once again, though, AJ, this is another one of those cards where it's like, you got some good fights. We're going to have some fun scraps. But for the casuals, they're probably like, what the hell's going on with the UFC, man? Why are they putting on boring cards back to back to back? Rob Font versus Chito Vera is going to be worth it to make up for everything else. But aside from that, man, not too much to write home about. So we will look forward to that. AJ, you got any last words for the people before we get out of here?
Biggest thing, man, we already said it, share it with your friends. But the one point I wanted to hit on, we were talking about it before, the plus 400 DQ from Jackson. We were talking, it wasn't the DQ, excuse me. There's some stats we're showing up here on this show. That the most important thing, there's some stats, there's some props we're covering that nobody else is hitting on, man. I'm looking at all these other shows. These dudes are talking about just going with the favorites the entire time. All the mess that everyone else is out there, avoid it all. Come to the best MMA show in the entire world so you can get the accurate stuff. The picks that people aren't seeing, man. The moves that you don't go and just out in the world, you're actually going down. Let us do the work for you. Let us make you some money, but do us a favor, share it with your friends, and hit us in the comments with how much you're winning, because we know you are, man. This week, Derick might have got one on me, but I still went 2-2. He's over there 3-1, looking good, and those records always across the board are better than the competition that is out there. So share with your friends. Do us some help, support us in the long run, because we're going to be here forever. So keep it going with the best MMA show in the world. I'll end my rant right there, Derick. Thank you very much, brother.
There you go, brother. And what AJ is talking about specifically is we had picked Puelles. We had said win or lose, because AJ picked for Guida, but he was like, I don't care, even though I'm picking against him. Puelles at plus 450 to win by submission. You have to take that. We said it. We called it. It happened. Come on, brother. So this is what we do. Best MMA show in the world, globally, across the board. Folks, share it with your friends. AJ already said it best. I can't say it any better. So that's it for us. We will be back on Friday to talk about UFC Vegas 53, Rob Font versus Chito Vera. Until next time, folks. Peace.